Welcome to a very special episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this December 29th, 2021. This is our final show of 2021. And wouldn't you know, Greg and Brendan wouldn't be here, those bastards, and left me hanging. Our client for today, everybody, our client is our fear in review. That is the client for today. So, yes, because many people say year in review, but instead it's,
Right.
we've just gone through 2021 and there's been lots of fear.
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
We also have a special sponsor for this episode, and the sponsor is called Replacement Host. Many of us feel loved and have many friends. Life is generally sociable, but sometimes those friends and loved ones disappear. This leaves us with feelings of isolation, abandonment, rejection, and outcast. Here at the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, we know how that can be. Sometimes Brendan disappears and leaves you all hanging, wondering, where is he this week? Where can he be? Does he not care about me anymore? Will the show survive? Well, today, not only are you abandoned by Brendan, but Greg has also chosen to find better things to do than fill your life with his positivity, free spirit, and alcoholism. Yes, today you're stuck with Matt as your only host. In times like these, some of you may turn to alcohol or drugs to make it through the week because Greg and Brendan have deserted you in your hour of need. If this happens to you, though, order a replacement host. Just add homemade whiskey. In only 15 minutes, replacement host will take over for your missing friends, and it'll be like there never was a problem. Replacement host, only available in North Dakota, also known as Sanchez El Dorado. So thank you very much, Sanchez El Dorado.
You are most certainly welcome. I'm happy to do it.
For coming along and helping me with this show. Let's talk to Nick Tabor. Nick Tabor is one of the co-hosts of the podcast Movie Theater Time Machine. He's been on our show before with his wife, Kaz. But today he's on to discuss a little bit about his personal trainer business. And then we'll ignore most of that and get right into the client. So...
Oh, hi everybody. Matt, thank you for welcoming me back. I'm Nick Tabor, movie theater time machine producer and all around lucky idiot. And I have a personal training business, Nick Tabor Fitness. Tabor spelled Taber.
Fitness spelled Pitnezz.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All the business, all we can do, and really Snoop Dogg tried to bless that one, but it didn't really work. And
you sure it wasn't Snoop Lion blessing you?
Right. Yeah. Dude, wouldn't that be awesome? That would be great.
I think you can hire Snoop Dogg through Cameo to do things like that.
I know he's expensive too.
Yeah, probably. I bet he would be.
It's like $1,000 like 3 minutes or something.
I find it fascinating that you know his rates.
I know, right?
Why do you know his rate? Were you actually looking into it?
I did. I did. Yeah, I did. I was gonna. My grandmother turned 96 this year, and I was really gonna try to find something like her favorite actor of all time is Robert De Niro, but he's not on there, and I don't think he even knows how to use a computer. But then I'm like, okay, what would be really funny? I'm like, okay, Snoop Dogg.
I bet you there's probably some drag person out there, like a drag artist, who's like Robert De Quiro, and you could get them to do it for like $5.
That'd be hilarious. Oh my God. That'd be hilarious.
It's like, is this Nick's grandma?
Yeah.
This is Robert De Quiro.
Hey,
you don't recognize.
Yeah.
I was
Are you
a taxi
talking
driver.
to me? Are you talking to me?
I think, oh man, that would have been funny. But Nick Tabor Fitness, all about really trying to be able to reduce anxiety, depression all around New England. This year, we're doing reviewing 2021. Who didn't have anxiety this year?
I've
been pretty
but I'm
easy.
generally anxiety free.
Yeah.
For the most part, because I don't do a lot of movement.
Right.
If you're not doing anything, you don't really have anxiety.
Yeah, if you don't leave the house, life is good, right?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. You just
right.
have to deal with the people in the house. They all have
Right.
anxiety because they had to deal
Well,
with me.
again, you know,
They didn't have to deal with me before, but then they're like stuck in the house with me. So that's where the true anxiety was resting, was on their heads.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it, really. I mean, be serious with it. There's a lot of it out there, and I mean, fitness and know-how is really a good thing to do. And I mean, now gyms are slowly opening back up. Might be closing again soon, but try, as things are progressing, and we want to make sure that people have the genuine know-how to be the best they can be.
Do you have a gym?
And yeah, I'm sorry.
Do
you have a gym?
I don't have a gym. No, I rent space out of a gym in a little town called Barrington, Rhode Island, which is about 50 miles south of me. And we have, it's a really cool little place, but we have fun. We have fun with it. Bring people in there, and some clients come in and they drop a whole load of money for a little bit, which I like.
Yeah.
That helps.
You don't actually want to help them, you just want their money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I help them, and then they give me, like, I had one client that offered, she's like, I'll pay you $150 a session if you just sit and talk with me. I'm like, dope, cool.
Wow. I wonder how much a hooker
there was no like
costs.
foot massage requested for that either.
No, it's not the not the
A
ladies.
whisper in the ear.
No, well, since your podcast, as I remember, is mostly middle-aged ladies, right? So yeah,
that hasn't really changed
every once
much.
in a while, what the hell, it's something.
That's true. I think you may be hitting our demographic, actually. So
Yeah.
any
go.
listeners that we have in Massachusetts, or at least in Rhode Island, I thought you were in Massachusetts for some reason, but
I am.
You are, but
the
your
New
gym
England
is in
states
Rhode
are
Island.
small. They're all kind of bundled up there in the corner.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like you could really like throw a paper airplane across Rhode Island as it is, and I mean, where I live, Rhode Island's right here, so it's easy,
So you're like in the southeastern corner of Massachusetts, down.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. For those of you who don't know geography, Rhode Island is not actually an island, but it is in the United States. So
yes, it is.
Rhode Island is neither a road nor an island. Look it up and discuss.
And Sanchez will tell you all about where it is with the Mercator projection.
Yeah, with my Mercator, it looks bigger on a Mercator projection.
What's a Mercator projection?
Yes, answer that question, Sanchez.
That is when, if you remember those old-fashioned maps you would see in school, and it looked like big squiggly lines. It looked like they were blocked into sections, like oval sections. That's a Mercator projection.
Oh, cool.
That's what the guy Mercator did. He decided he was going to take the globe and he was going to open it up. So in order to open it up so it laid flat, that's how it cut.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if he knew that the Earth actually was flat, he wouldn't have had to do that.
Well, the problem with it is no matter how you take a globe and you flatten it out, nothing is the right shape or size as it actually is on a globe.
Well, you can't even put it on a globe because we're not actually like a full globe either. There's got to be like some
we're an oblate
indentations.
sphere.
Right. A what sphere?
Oblate sphere.
Oblate. How do you define the word oblate?
The slightly oval shape,
a little bit late,
egg shaped. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little late.
Yeah. I remember those maps there, and I remember I got in trouble once in the 5th grade, I think, because I looked at it and I said the map looks like a giant couple of butts.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, it looks like a couple of droopy butts, and they're like, you're staying in for recess for 6 weeks. I'm like, oh.
6 weeks.
It was worth it. Yeah, they were pretty strict, but I don't know if it was that long, but it was worth it because I'm like, everybody else was laughing. I'm like, you look at it, it does look like butts, man. Come on. Like,
I'm old enough to remember when the map of Russia was like this big, and the map of the United States was like that big.
Right.
Because we had to be bigger than Russia.
We had to be bigger, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So both Sanchez and I are overweight old men. And the fact of the matter is, I'm sure that Sanchez is like me and doesn't like to exercise at all. So what do you recommend for people who don't really want to move to actually lose weight or size?
First thing you want to do, I always tell people to try to, eat the food that loves you back. you know, and I did this
like
with
pizza.
Well, the food that loves you back, you know,
Pizza loves me back. I eat it. It tastes good. That's loving me back.
It doesn't love you back because it hurts later, you know. So you might order from Papa Gino's or Papa John's, but Daddy don't love you back, you know. That's why I said they have snack foods. It's like Little Debbie doesn't love you. Little Debbie is a ho-ho. You're not going to want to eat all that back. You want to eat the fresh foods that love you back, the earth food and everything else, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, and, you know, natural foods. Like,
all right, you've obviously not listened to the show because we have a whole episode about how fruit is betrayal.
No, I have listened to that one. I found it funny as hell. I found it funny as hell, bro. But it really is just trying to, like, you know, people, I think in this country, we eat food and we eat crazy food. You know, and I had my wife and I
throw away food.
We throw away food too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we throw away food. There's that, and this is not a sponsor, but you know, Misfit Markets is a company that you can order food. It looks a little bit ugly, but it's the stuff that the farmers throw away because the peach doesn't look quite right, or the tomatoes are a little bit off.
There's a company like that in our neck of the woods too.
When we've got one of our local supermarket chains has a section for that, for the, you know, slightly blemished fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
At a, you know, not a super significant discount, but at
actually,
a discount.
Sanchez's nickname is slightly blemished fruit.
Yeah.
In case you didn't
I
know.
actually met somebody who was like that today too.
On the cusp of turning.
Slightly blemished. So you say food, I still have to disagree. Little Debbie would certainly love me back. Maybe not in the way that you think, but in the way that I think.
Little Debbie was manufactured by a bunch of guys in the 50s who were chain smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, again, is there a problem we're talking about here?
Yeah, and then it's there. That's why I said Little Debbie don't love you. Little Debbie don't love you. Little Debbie a ho-ho, man.
Well, I'll ring my own bell for a minute because I've been on a diet for like the last 8 months, and I've dropped 50 pounds.
Right,
which for me awesome. is a huge deal because I was way up over 30 pounds there for quite a while, or 300 pounds. Dude. And it wasn't working for me. I mean, I couldn't do stairs. I couldn't go walks with my little friend that I babysit.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's the food.
I tell you, I mean, you guys can see this, your listeners won't, but this was me at 305 pounds.
Wow.
What? It actually removed your glasses.
Yeah, right.
They wouldn't fit around his fat head.
One of my assistants.
Well, you look actually quite good in that picture, honestly.
Thank you. One of my assistants said I look like a mechanic. You never question how they fixed anything. They just did it.
Yeah, we're going to give you a new engine.
It just got fixed. How did it fix? It just got fixed.
You need a whole transmission there, lady.
It works.
Just have to accept it. What are you drinking there, Sanchez? I keep hearing ice clinking around in the glass.
Actually homemade whiskey. I bought myself a little still off of eBay.
All right.
Is it whiskey or is it moonshine?
Okay. Sure. It's not real moonshine because I don't actually do it from corn.
Okay.
I just use sugar.
Yeah.
So you're making sake is what you're making.
I'm making alcohol.
Yeah.
Alcohol. Sake's a fermented. This is distilled.
Well, sorry, sake is from rice though, but I guess that would be rum you're making actually if it's from sugar, right?
Yeah.
Basically, pretty much white rum.
Yeah.
I proof it way down.
Now you're a goddamn racist. Jeez. It's like I try to keep the racism off the show, but what do? I pick some guy from frickin' North Dakota.
Yeah, well, my theory is everybody is a little bit racist, and I don't care who you are or where you're from.
Yeah.
I think it's just bred into us.
Why? So okay, well, since you brought that up, so how are you racist, Sanchez?
Well, I mean, I try my hardest not to be, but I have biases just like everybody else does.
Well, there's bias and then there's racism.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
You're the king of putting people on a spot. You know that, don't you?
Yeah.
That's what the speaker view is for on Zoom, is definitely putting people on the spot.
Yeah.
And as the words come out of your mouth, that your face is the one that everyone sees.
I just, I mean, my father was a terrible racist. I mean,
Are there
he
good
actually
ones? Are there good racists?
Well, no, but
he wasn't the best racist. He was like kind of racist.
He
but he could have been a better racist.
He left an entire town because there was a rumor that somebody was going to move into our neighborhood. So we picked up and had to move.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
my grandmother,
100 miles away.
My dad's mother was
100 miles away, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was like that.
My dad's mother was like a full-blown like KKK type racist. And I didn't know this because I never really hung out with her because my dad was in the Navy. We moved around a lot, but I got to spend some time with her once. And like Jesse Jackson was doing a speech on the radio, and she made some comment about, how we don't let those kind of people in our town. Last one was found strung up at the edge of town. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, what the hell am I related to? And then it answered so much as to why my dad got out of Tennessee.
Right.
To get away from that type of perspective.
Yeah, my dad was in World War II, so there was some people that lived about, I don't know, I went to school with their kids. They were like in the next neighborhood over, but they were Japanese.
Yeah.
And he just could not believe that they would let Japanese kids in our school. They were American kids. They, they'd grown, they'd never known any life but being in America.
Yeah.
But he just couldn't believe. He went on and on all the time. Oh, stupid guy.
I mean,
get you into a good school.
Yeah. So he was running the internment camps basically for when the Japanese were.
Well,
Japanese Americans were put in camps here in the United States.
They put one on his family farm after he grew up and went to high school and then got out of high school and just started college. His mom and dad, my grandparents, sold the family farm to the U.S. government where they put an internment camp.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
I mean, I had grandparents who grew up in segregated neighborhoods.
Right.
And around where I am, I'm in the city of Fall River. There was a Portuguese community, there was a Spanish community, and there was other communities here and there, and then nobody really blended. And over the years, I had a grandfather he lived up in New Hampshire, who was he didn't say anything, but he was known to be racist.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And he, over the years, he just said, what was I thinking? And he campaigned for Barack Obama in the last few years of his life.
That's good. And people do learn and they grow.
Yeah.
Well, I thought Obama was still alive, though.
Yeah.
Of his grandfather's life.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that, Sanchez.
He passed away like shortly after President Obama was elected. And he's like, okay, we did it. It's awesome. And he had his ex-wife, on the other hand, a grandmother I had no relationship with, was absolutely the polar opposite right till the day she died. And, she was just, I remember a similar story. I remember when she was a kid, and we had a family in a house, a few houses down, and we lived in another city. And, I was going to go play basketball, and she's screaming about, why would I want to play basketball with those kinds of people? And I'm heavily censoring what she said.
Yeah.
And I turned and I just looked at my dad. I looked at her and I said, what the F are you talking about? Now, I was 6, 7 years old. It was the first time I ever enunciated a swear. I knew what a swear was.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, as boys do, you talk with each other and you don't talk with the parents.
Right.
And, you learn all that stuff in the schoolyard. And my dad looked at me and he's like, his eyes really wide. He's like, well, he pulled me in the room and he's like, you just said that to your grandmother? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay.
Yeah.
Say it again, kid. Say it again.
Moved on. And I mean, he was the same way. Everybody else is out like further west and everything and scattered about. We're over here just kind of doing our thing. Just doing our thing. It's funny how people get like that, but it's good that they learn,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want people to learn, to have those epiphanies where they go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be such an asshole. like find
that was
ways
really,
to.
yeah, that was my grandfather Bill's life. Is just okay. I don't need to be an asshole today.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go ahead and do stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
my dad finally had to get off of it because my sister married a black guy, and he loved my sister. So if he wanted to see her, he knew he had to, make adjustments.
Did he want to make adjustments?
I don't think he wanted to, but he was willing to do it. I mean,
yeah.
And I thought, I didn't. Me and him never got along, right? So
yeah,
I didn't see him for probably 18 years before he died.
Oh.
And part of that was his attitudes. He wasn't.
Right.
It was always his way or the highway. So I took the highway, and
got the hell out of there. Huh?
But and my sister, she's gone now too, but she would press it. She, you didn't mess with her because if you said no, she was going to show you yes. And she would literally, at first, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. You know how I feel about that, So she would literally, she was at his house banging on his door. Open the door. I know you're in there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Well, I'm all for miscegenation. I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Should mix all races. Is my opinion.
Well,
we want everyone to become a shade of mauve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And then we'd all be based upon who's like a darker shade of mauve or not, and then we could have fights because of that. All right. Well, we're just going to move on into our client. I hope I've given you enough attention, Nick, to your business.
Oh, we're good, man. We're good.
Yeah. All right, good. So we're going to move into
happy to be here.
Damn it.
Am I.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
happy to be here, God damn it.
That will all change probably at some point. So just to recap, so our podcast started in June of 2020, right? The pandemic was going strong, and that's how it all began. And we've had many different changes along the way, and since last year, that's when we started having guests on a regular basis. Like our first episode of 2021 was when we had our first major celebrity guest, which was a guy named Larry Hankin. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to read off all of our episode titles. And Sanchez and Nick, feel free to stop me at any point if you want to get into what maybe the client was at the time or ask me about who the hell this guest was. And coming into the new year, we're not actually going to be having as many guests. They'll be few and far between. The first month, we're going to have about 3 guests, then 1 like in February is what we've got left. But basically, Greg and Brendan suck as human beings, mainly because they're not here today. That's the main reason. But then also because of the fact that Greg's never wanted guests. Like he's always been like, I want us to just do our own thing. And he thinks that we got away from true creativity because we brought guests in. And Brendan's like, well, some of these people are idiots and I don't want to talk to them. Yeah. Which, granted, could be true. But regardless of that, I like talking to everybody. So I'm like, all right. I tried to keep it going for a while. For a while, we were actually using 2 publicists at the same time. We were doing 2 shows a week. And that became too much for everybody. So then we went back to just doing 1 show a week, and now we're kind of sliding the guests out, unfortunately, but we'll still bring in guys like you on occasion whenever Greg and Brendan, it's no longer like my monarchy anymore. It's like more of a democracy where they'll vote on who gets to be a guest for the show or not. So not like I was trying to be a monarchy, but it was more like I'm trying to do something to see if we can get some popularity. But we learned that nobody really gave a shit about our show for the course of this year. Our listenership is not stagnated, but it's never really like gotten huge jumps. Yeah. Although we're starting to get a little more motion on YouTube, but not so much in podcast land. So YouTube, we're moving along. But anyway,
I get you.
Blah blah blah. Well, I think the whole YouTube podcast thing is starting to blend together anyway. I mean,
true.
People won't take time to sit down and listen to something where they will take time to sit down and watch something.
There's podcast purists out there that say that anything that's on YouTube is not a podcast because
that's the guy. Those are the people who work and they have the ability to put their earbuds in, and they get their head down, they start working, and they listen to podcasts all day.
Yeah, I tell you, that's what we do with Movie Theater Time Machines. The same thing. Yeah,
you listen to podcasts all day long.
Well, yeah, we listen to it, but our listenership really is just people who, okay, I've worked all day. I hear you guys chatting about movies, or people who are on long car trips. And I need to hear some other people talk besides my wife. And, and I'm like, that actually is a review. That was the Casablanca episode. It was like, thank you guys for talking about something so I didn't have to talk to my wife. I'm like, 5 stars. I'm like,
glad we could help with marital harmony. Keeping your marriage together. All right, well, let me get this show on the road. So our very first episode of 2021 took place with I'll just read them off. Season 2, Client 1. The client was Homo sapiens, Love It or Leave It, with legendary character actor Larry Hankin. Season 2, Client 2, You Light Up My Life Sustainably, with actor entrepreneur Scott Valentine. Client 3, Golden Girls and Golden Boys, with film actress Liz Priestley. She was in the movie Concrete Cowboy that was on Netflix not long ago.
We actually chatted with her too. She was great.
Yeah, she was fun.
Was she the one who missed the Texas Ranger joke? Would she do the interview by the pool?
No.
Okay.
She was an African American lady. She was in Concrete Cowboy.
Yeah.
I did catch that one. Yeah, that was a great episode.
5 minutes in the last 5 minutes of the movie. That's where she was.
Yeah.
But we talked about Golden Girls with her. So that's which was good because it forced me to watch Golden Girls episodes, which I had never seen before. So and it was something to talk about. All right, next, Client 4. Are you a hooker or a slicer? That was with character actor Tim McLaughlin.
Which one was he?
He had a beard. What was he? He's done he's not a well-known character actor. He's done a lot of small parts in different movies though. But he was in like From Earth to Moon, the Tom Hanks thing, or
was he a hooker or a slicer?
Oh, he's both because he's into golf.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's where that came from. So
it's awesome.
That's right. I have to take credit for that one. That was one of my. We go back and forth on who creates the names of the clients.
Pretty clever.
That was one of mine.
Pretty good.
All right, next we have Client 5, Furry Faces and Flipping Fingers, with mythological bass player Leland Sklar.
Whoa.
That's one of my favorite ones, actually.
Yeah,
Leland is a guy who's been on like 20,000 recordings.
Yeah, he's
in the
been on
business.
All of the recordings, hasn't he?
Not all of them. He was part of the Mellow Mafia in the 70s, though, so he did a lot of recordings in the 70s. But he started off in James Taylor's band, and it was actually him and James Taylor who persuaded Carole King to have a singing career, because she was a backup singer in James Taylor's band, and they talked her into actually putting out her own album. So for those of you who know who Carole King is, if you don't, well, then you're like the rest of us. But yeah, Leland's great. He has a book out, which is basically 2,000 pictures of people flipping him off.
Nice.
It's like a coffee table book, but he's got like Jack Nicholson, people like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and and he flipped us off too at the end of our episode. And when he came on to the Quibble Awards that we had last year, he flipped off everybody there too.
I remember that.
Now I get the context of it now.
So you can go to his website and buy his book.
You know what I call that book?
I don't remember the name of it.
The Bird.
It's the Word, I've heard.
Yeah.
You've heard the word?
That's right. It's the Bird. All right. Client 6, Mummies on Parade, with podcaster actor Michael Spedden from Foul Players Radio. So this is basically a podcaster. He's outside of Baltimore and does a murder mystery theater out of a train, something like that. Next we have Client 7, Monty Python's Snake, with the extraordinary Scott Page. He was a sax player. He played with Pink Floyd, Supertramp, and Corey Feldman. So just to add that.
Corey Feldman.
Yes.
That's
I remember now. He had a minor musical career, didn't he?
I think he put out an album last year, honestly.
Oh, last year?
I think so,
really?
yeah.
No, he did some stuff in the 80s.
No, he's been doing stuff in the last at least 10, 15 years.
Okay.
Like when he was creating his own cult of women that like living in his house that he was grooming for I don't know what purpose. And it was like Corey's Angels or something like that. They were called.
I missed that.
Hey, look that one up. It's quite fascinating.
Yeah. I think you're right, Sanchez, because he released a few albums in the 80s. And then
when he was still quite young, and he had the like the little bolo tie kind of thing going. And,
One of the interesting things about this guest, Scott Page, is his dad was on the Lawrence Welk show, and he was like a multi-instrumentalist woodwind player. But he also is the guy who invented the wah-wah pedal.
Oh, really?
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, I guess someone had to invent it. So it was that guy's dad. And he's an entrepreneur himself, too. So he doesn't just play saxophone. He also has his finger in a bunch of different pies. The reason that the client was Monty Python Snake was because he was a part owner in the business that created software for Monty Python, a Monty Python game back in the late 90s, which is one of the few games I actually owned.
Anyway, which one is it?
It was called Monty Python's Complete Waste of Time.
Complete Waste of Time. Yeah, it's one of my favorites also.
Yeah, so this guy was responsible for that game because he was a co-owner of the company. Yeah. All right, next we have Client 8, America North, with Maxim model and lumber salesperson Sherry Nelson. Sherry is great. She is beautiful. She's gotten us the most views of any of our shows on YouTube, and we actually don't know why. Why, like hers just
maybe
like
Maxim model in the title.
Yeah, that could be. That could very well be.
Come on, bro.
But she is a lumber salesperson. That is true too. So
somebody's got to do it.
Exactly. But she's really fun to have on. Then we have Client 9, which was, what is the name of this client? That was with renowned psychic Artie Hoffman.
That was a great
I wish
episode.
I could have been on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, you listened to that one, Nick? I didn't realize you've listened to our episodes like this.
Yes.
So, awesome.
Yeah, I've listened to the majority of them this year. I think the past few months, because of my day job, I run a COVID vaccine clinic.
Oh.
And
while making them work out while getting their shots.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Well, just
10 sit-ups, and then we're gonna jab you.
Yeah, pretty much.
With your legs.
Pretty much. I just do that. I was giving diet tips to a 93-year-old lady the other day, actually. And it was like, what should I do about this? I love my ice cream. I'm like,
eat it.
In the back of my head, I'm like, you're 93 years old.
Eat it.
Who cares?
You should just start smoking.
Yeah, start smoking. Maybe put a little crack.
Pick up a pipe, try some LSD, do some crack, do all of it. You're 93 at this stage.
Whatever, man.
What else you got to do?
Right.
Take some shrooms. Enjoy yourself. You're 93.
Right. Yeah.
Get it out of your system.
Imagine that if you do that she trips out and dies, and that's the last mortal thought she ever had.
The Doors of Perception. You got to read it. Aldous Huxley. That's literally how he died.
The
was that a biography?
Blake, right?
Aldous Huxley was Brave New World.
Yeah, Brave New World. Yeah. He also wrote Doors of Perception.
Yeah, it was the Doors of Perception. That's what inspired Jim Morrison to name the band the Doors.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well, I'm learning something today.
He died while under the influence of LSD. He was on his deathbed.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And he called for DMT and LSD.
Yeah.
Huxley?
Yeah.
What's DMT?
I can't remember what it's. They call it the spirit molecule. That's the one that. Who's the guy?
Ken Kesey or
no, the Rolling Stone.
Gonzo. What's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name? Who we can't remember because we're old.
Well, he said DMT is like being shot out of a cannon for 15 minutes.
Oh. Yeah, it was the guy that Johnny Depp played in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but we can't remember what his name is.
Shanny Pants looks just like him when he puts on the visor and the glasses and the cigarette holder. I mean, spitting image.
But less dead.
Yeah, a lot less dead.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
all right, we're going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
Because I'm a narcissist. So Client 10, Fedora the Explorer with charity music event promoter Soho Johnny Pasquale. That was my least favorite episode due to the sound quality.
Yeah.
That guy's volume was so low. It wasn't because of him. It was just because the sound quality was so low, so hard to hear him. We were all like going, what the fuck? What is he saying? I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's got to be terrible.
Yeah, but nice guy, really good, nice guy. Next we have Client 11. We're all narcissists with podcaster and comedian Matt Gwynn. This is the guy who hosts The Adventures of the Albino Rhino.
Yeah, he was awesome. I was on his show too. He was so much fun.
Oh, you were interviewed by him?
Yeah. All we did was just crack jokes for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he's about. You know? Yeah. And I think that's what caused him for his marriage to break up was this podcast.
Yeah.
But I think it's gotten back together again. So
his podcast?
No, his marriage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Podcast got put on hold while that was going on.
Yeah.
It was like, it's got to sort out some things in his life before he could do that.
Yeah. We talked recently. He seems pretty good now. Actually.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I kind of track him on Facebook to see how he's doing because I was a little concerned about, not concerned enough to do anything, but concerned, in the sense of
just
thank you for the train wreck, Matt.
Just skulk in the background.
Thank you for allowing me to witness why your life is worse than mine. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. That's what Facebook is good for. It's good for going, oh yeah, I'm doing better. Doing better than them. Like I see all of the mental illness that comes across my pages of Facebook and I go, wow, I'm glad I don't live your lives, guys. So
I'm going to post a cat meme.
Somebody send me cat pictures and other animal photos. I'm having a bad day. It's the only way I can survive is looking at these pictures. What's that?
Here's some food that I ate this morning. Or like this.
I hope my pure empathy is not showing through too well right now. I don't want people to think that I'm actually too kind. So anyway, next.
Nobody, don't worry about it. Nobody thinks that.
Oh, now I'm sad. All right, Client 12, Mars, Bars, and Stars with the amazing Jane's Addiction drummer Stephen Perkins. That was kind of a coup that we had him, and he was actually really fun to talk to as well. Yeah. And not only that, at the end of the episode, he was doing the interview in his drum studio. So he went back and started banging on gongs at the end of it. At the end of the episode. So you got to go check that one out, Sanchez.
Yeah, I'll look at that one.
Yeah, it was a relatively short episode, but it was good to talk to him. But again, that was like towards the end of the video, of the interview.
And what episode was this?
That was season 2, Client 12, with Stephen Perkins from Jane's Addiction.
All right.
Then we have Client 13, Can't Compete If You're Obsolete. That's with a podcaster named Phil Better. He is out of Canada.
Good guy.
Yeah, a decent guy. Yeah. He tries to help people. Yeah. We had Client 14, Vegans on Trial, with prolific punk singer and author John Robb of the Membranes. And when we had him on the Quibble show, we gave him the award as the best plant-based rocker or something like that.
So vegan, I take it.
Yes, he's very much a vegan. He's been a vegan before it was cool to be a vegan.
Right.
I'm a vegan except for all the meat I eat.
Yeah, I do.
And all the leather you wear.
Yeah. I do that, except I eat beef, pork, and
I kind of been trying to give up the pork.
Yeah,
pork tends to thicken me up.
Nah, it is. It's a lot of salt in there. You definitely should.
Yeah.
But if anything, anybody could do that. Just fillet the fish and don't leave the heads on fish, please.
Yeah. People do
it. You're not a fan of the fish head, huh?
You don't want to let anything look at you while you're eating it,
Well, I grew up that if you caught it, you ate it. You ate it all.
Me too.
Ate it all. Yeah. Straight the scales.
Yeah.
Well, no, not one.
All right then, goddamn hypocrite.
We fish. Well, I'll eat them if they're fried. Have you ever had fried fish scales?
No.
So there, huh?
Yeah.
Fried fish scales.
Yeah, deep fried fish scales. They're pretty good. They're crunchy.
Yeah. It's like a weird potato chip.
Yeah, like super weird. It's really like a lot of little tiny potato chips.
Yeah.
It seems like they'd be a little sharp too, wouldn't they?
No, and once you get them fried up, they kind of crisp up and crunch. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right, learn something new every day. All right, we're moving along, and this guy was also our first, and I think an only guest that we had in the United Kingdom too.
Oh.
So,
international guest.
I did see that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have Client 15,
international.
JFQ, Flat Earth, and You.
Oh, I wished I could have been on that show. I love flat Earth people.
That's when we first started. I first discovered the whole reptilian person theories of the QAnon movement.
Yeah,
that Brendan educated me on.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Is it Ick or Ike?
I don't know.
Ike.
I don't know.
He's the
right.
He's the one who kind of pioneered the whole lizard people thing, the reptilians.
I mean,
as I heard that, I'm like, wow, people have totally lost it.
I mean, the conspiracy theories are just like the best entertainment ever. Like, I think the best, not to get too political about it, but it's like, okay, JFK Jr. is going to come back. And he's going to be like,
and he's going to run with Trump.
That is the funniest one ever.
At first, they were both going to come back, At first, it was both of them. Then they kind of realized, well, maybe he was really dead because half of his head was in the back seat,
Right. And, that's
maybe he won't come, but his boy will come.
It was a look-alike.
His boy, JFK Jr. JFK Jr. will come back, but he'll come back in that same spot where his dad was killed.
Yeah.
He'll come back. Okay, everybody waiting around. He'll come back. Oh wait, he'll be back next week. Okay, let's all get back together next week.
The thing that was the most the thing that was the most unrealistic about it all was the fact that, not even the coming back from the dead part. It was the fact that JFK Jr. would come back to run with Trump on a ticket.
Right.
That was the thing. Like, even if let's say he'll come back, thinking that he would actually go on a ticket with Trump, and I'm like, I'm like, all right, I'm willing to suspend some disbelief that maybe he didn't die in a plane crash. But I can't suspend the disbelief
that he would. That's the most believable part of it, that he didn't die.
Right. But that he would run with Trump? Like, I don't see it happen. He's a Kennedy Democrat. That ain't happening.
Obviously, I'd be willing to bet that 85% of all those people that were falling into that group were born way after probably Junior died.
Oh, way after
that they don't even know who he was. They just know that he was a Kennedy and his father got assassinated. Now he's dead. Supposedly dead.
It's like, why do they even care about him? Because they were born after he died. Anyway, moving on.
Honestly, if you really want a theory like that, just go really crazy and say John Lennon faked his death and is going to come back.
Everyone's all of us
he
are
could
dead.
too, because
just go with that. Just go, okay, Imagine was about imagining this guy winning the presidency.
So we're all in the Matrix is where we are.
He's gonna run with Ted Cruz.
Right.
Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio for governor. Anyway, Client 16, this land is my land and so is your land. That was with Allied artist guitarist Rocky Kramer. Then we have Client 17, like sandwiches through the hourglass. That was with the grandson of Curly from the Three Stooges.
I like that episode. I watched that episode, and I like that one.
Yeah, he was a good guy. I enjoyed talking with him. Client 18, Dead Rockers, Where Are They Now? With Captain of Industry Kim Richards. That's the guy who was the CEO of Allied Records. Allied Artists, I mean.
That was also a pretty good episode.
Yeah, we barely even got into the client because his stories were just fascinating.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, he was discovered by Steely Dan.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is a weird thing to hear. And he wasn't even an artist, but that's how his career started. And then he went up touring with Andy Gibb in Australia, and that's how kind of like his career took off, was because of that. It was really
actually got a.
So what is the deal with Brendan and the progressive rock movement? He seems to have a.
Brendan and Greg are both punks, right? They were both born and raised.
Well, I knew Greg was. I didn't realize that Brendan.
No, Brendan was in a punk band too, and he used to hang out with the punks in the Pacific Northwest. Like, he knew Kurt Cobain.
Right. Yeah.
Cobain was famous,
when he
right?
was on our show.
Yeah. So he knew him before Cobain was famous. He was just like some guy from the outskirts of
some heroin
somewhere
guy,
in Hicktown in Washington State, who would show up every once in a while with his junkie girlfriend. And that's basically how Brendan knew him, because Brendan was part of the punk scene at the time. But now Brendan has an issue with progressive rock for who knows what reason, because he's a fucking elitist. That's really what it comes down to. So anyway, moving on to Client 19. And he'll go, I can't be an elitist, I'm a punk.
We love you,
Brendan and I go back 30 years. And so but I get to say these things because they can't defend themselves. They're not on the show today.
How dare they?
Exactly. They're probably not even going to listen to this episode. So whatever. All right, Client 19. I don't understand advertising. That was with internet radio mogul Dean the Pipe Man Piper. And that was one where all of us agree that he would never come back on our show again.
I think I'd miss that one.
So he was an interesting guy, but I dug into his background. It looked like he was like convicted of some felony from up north, and that's how he kind of wound up in Florida, was because of some kind of very shady dealings. And so I was like, oh, this is fascinating.
Do you suspect he was on the run when he was on your show?
Or just having a new start in life, possibly.
Well, everybody deserves a second chance.
Sure. Client 20, We're Not Funny, with former comedy agent Bruce Starr. And what we learned was he wasn't funny. So,
so he wasn't comedian Bruce.
But he has an interesting show on YouTube where he used to represent comedians, and he would get some interesting comedians to actually come onto his show. So he had like Bobby Slayton on his show, and Bobby Slayton was insulting the crap out of him the entire time. It was hilarious. And he had the Unknown Comic on, because he used to represent the Unknown Comic at one point too. And the Unknown Comic was freaking hilarious and went to the bathroom while he was being interviewed. So that was the Bruce Starr show, which is, I think, called the 80s, the Golden Age of Comedy, something like that. And then the one that we've all been waiting for, which is Client 21 in season 2, which was Hateful Pulp Dogs with Nick and Kaz of Movie Theater Time Machine.
I liked those two. They were so funny.
They were the best. They were the best guests you guys ever had.
Really interesting conversation.
They were great.
Should we dig into them a little further? Do we have anything you want to say about them?
I mean, Movie Theater Time Machine's probably got to be one of the greatest reality shows or improv that we've ever had.
The best podcast in the world.
The best ever.
Tell me, Matt, what is their podcast?
Their podcast is where you get into a movie theater and it takes you back in time.
Oh.
Movie Theater Time Machine. I mean, ours is, our slogan is to keep things real to real. Get
right.
It? Yeah.
Hey, I'm a huge film noir fan. I mean, I have a collection like.
But not as huge as he used to be since he lost weight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, last month at the time of recording this, we actually, we try to stay away from movies made past 2000, but we gave a gift to us and we reviewed the Sharknado series.
Yeah, something I've kind of made a promise to myself. I can't do it.
You got to. Like, they're so dumb and stupid, but my God, it was the most joyous thing. Like, just to see these like people who are like taking a horrible script.
You got to know, I sat start to finish through Plan 9. All right.
Yeah.
Start to finish.
Same thing. We did Plan 9 too.
Yeah.
Same shit. It's the stupidest crap.
I had never heard of it.
This is from somebody.
In 1979, 1980, I was in San Francisco, Treasure Island.
Yeah.
And I was in the Navy, and they had this afternoon movie thing, right? The Dialing for Dollars or whatever it was. And they had Plan 9 from Outer Space. And the guy kept coming on, the host of the afternoon movie, going, I'm sorry, people. I don't know where this turkey come from.
I think I'm going to have to start zipping things along.
Yeah.
All right, man.
You guys just going to have to stop me just because I have a lot of titles to get through.
Okay.
All right. Then we have Client 22, Case Your State, with author and podcaster Anthony Williams III, our first very strong pro-Trumper, which we did not know. He was like a total wild card guest. He came out of the blue, and then we went, definitely not coming on again because he's lost his marbles. Anyway, then Client 23, the Nerd Hierarchy, with master podcasters Kenrick and John of Spoiler Country. They've got a whole spoiler country network in Washington State, these guys. Then we have Client 24. This is Brendan's favorite guest. There Are No Fat Vampires, with singer and musician Arrow.
Oh, I loved Arrow.
I'm fine with this girl, but Brendan has to nag on this chick, and he wasn't even on the show that day.
That was the first one I watched when I was doing research when you guys are going to be on our show, because I wanted to see what, and I said Arrow. And I just laughed and laughed and laughed.
Because she was like, what's The Godfather?
Yeah, well, when she was going to be an actress and she wanted to do this, she wanted to do that. And then somebody had mentioned something about The Godfather. She says, well, I've never actually seen The Godfather.
Well, she's also 5 years old. So anyway, Client 25, One's Name is One's Destiny with author Wendy M. Koch. She was kind of interesting. She had like a supernatural take from her book. The book seems to be doing well. Now, this is my favorite guest. This is Client 26, our dog's best friend, with the astounding Howard Bloom. Howard Bloom is a guy who was a PR guy back in the 80s who basically discovered Prince, and he discovered a bunch of people. And he freaking lost his mind at one point, had a nervous breakdown, and took him like 20 years to get out of his bed. And now he's creating his magnum opus, and he listens to podcasts all the time. He's
got a hell of an online presence also.
He does. He's quite an intelligent man, but probably certifiable. But again, I want to have him back on again because I'm sure it'll be really interesting. But
all the best ones.
He totally answered the question of dog's best friend, and he had to like that too. I'm like, well, all right. I thought he was just going to go, I'm not going to be bothered with some stupid question like this. I'm like, no, he was like right with us. Anyway, next we have Client 27, Dad Jokes, Pinnacle of Western Civilization, with New York City talk show host Mickey Burns, who was a great guy, really fun to talk to. Didn't know any dad jokes. And they're like, what, nothing? He's like, nah, I don't tell jokes.
Yeah, I caught that one too,
But he was good to talk to. Then we've reached the pizza show with the Happy Hour news team. This is our motivational office retreat, where we finally got that pizza. And if anybody wants to know why it was a pizza show, listen to the freaking episode. It's season 2.
Couldn't understand why anybody would want to be on your show. That's what he kept saying. Why would you want to be on our show?
Yeah, didn't get it. It's like, why do people volunteer to be on the show?
Yeah.
Don't know. So that didn't actually have that was the end of our, weird, because I had season 3 Client 27 for Mickey Burns, but it should have been season 2. I found a typo. All right, then we have season 2 Client 28, Don't Dress Your Pets or Pet Your Dress, with career actress Lisa London, which I thought went perfectly well, but by the end of it, Brendan was going to really piss her off. And so I had to turn things in a different direction because he was getting agitated because of he didn't like her attitude.
She was the one that missed your joke. She was the one there. She was sitting by the pool when you were interviewing.
She was the one sitting by the pool. She was
that
also
was the best joke I've ever heard. Just the best joke. It was your joke, and she's talking about.
Was it Walker, Texas, a Ranger?
Yeah,
not a good joke, man.
It was great. It was the best, and it just went zoom right over.
It really was more for me than for anybody else. It's like I have to say it. I'm compelled. I must say this.
It was perfect. It was absolutely golden, and I laughed and I laughed. I laughed for like it comes up. I think about it and I start laughing.
Yeah, but when we were trying to talk about the pets thing, she's like, I'll just let you guys talk amongst yourselves. Yeah. And I'm like, that's when Brendan was like, fuck her.
She definitely had a real high opinion of herself.
Yeah.
You know, she's been an actress for 30 years. I think it comes to the territory. All right, then we have Client 29, Leading Men Are Not Real Men, with stunt director Jon Stewart and singer Madeline Kaye. This was one that was hard to understand because I thought I was just getting a stunt guy on. And it turns out I was getting him and a singer of the band that he's in. They were basically, their PR people were hired to promote the band, not him as a stunt man. So I'm like, all right.
Now, that was the episode. I remember I'm like, okay, he's interviewing Jon Stewart, and of course I'm like, oh, the old host of the Daily Show. Great. And I did that. I'm like, oh wow.
No, it was the singer of the song Gold from 1978.
Yeah, I still love the episode.
But you'll never make that mistake again, right?
Actually, it was a good episode because they were both actually pretty good guests. So I actually like both those guys. All right, then we have the guy that I thought was the biggest coup of all to get, which is Client 30, When Words Collide, with comedy legend Bruce Vilanch.
Bruce Vilanch, that was a great episode.
Only have like 10 or 15 views on YouTube, maybe 25 listens. I think it's because he's really pervasive in podcast land, so he does lots of interviews on podcasts. And so it could be just like we're just one among many, or just because we don't really advertise well. Which is probably more the case.
But he's an icon. I mean, he's an absolute comedy icon.
Absolutely. I mean, if it wasn't for him, we probably never would have heard of Bette Midler, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
So, all right, moving on. Client 31, dress sizes and body hair with author, comedian, and 70s club kid Wendy Stewart Kaplan. She was actually a lot more fun than I thought she was going to be. And because I think she used to hang out at Studio 54 back in the day. So she was one of those club kids. All right, then we have Client 32. The customer is always Karen. That was no guest. You can sure guess what that was about.
Yeah.
So.
I got a funny story with that. One of the things I have at the clinic is we have a universal translator, and one of them we found was like, it's basically an iPad on a stick, and you hit the button and you select the language, and we found one of the languages was Karen. I timed that just right, so Sanchez was drinking.
Yeah. You want to see me spit, huh?
Yeah, but okay, you hit the button and somebody comes on the screen and they translate and it's all good. And you hit Karen, it just like, does it just come to my desk? At that point, I'm the manager of the clinic. It's like, okay, it just comes to me.
Yeah. Oh, I get it.
Yeah. That is the language I should be speaking all the time. Yeah. Moving on. Cancel Me Too. And we were going to run into possibly tricky territory with this one at the time, because this was in May, during the time when things were really heating up, controversial. But luckily, this was an actual attorney. This is our first real attorney that we had on the show, which is a media attorney, guy with the name of Mark Jacobson with Cancel Me Too. Then we had Client 34, White Rappers and Black Rockers with 80s rock star John Butcher. And I was the only one excited to have him on because I was the only one who had bought the guy's album when it came out back in the day. Yeah. So, but his new stuff actually is.
I didn't know. It was a great episode, but I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody did. It was just me. I heard his name from the publicist. I'm like, yes, I want him. I want to talk to him. I bought his album. It was but I still want to talk to him. And the fact is, his music now is so much better than what he did back in the day.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad.
All right, then we have Client 35, When Rock and Roll Became Muzak with film maestro Randy Edelman. I thought that was a really interesting interview too. This is a guy who's, I think he got like an Academy Award or a nomination for Last of the Mohicans because he did the score for that film. And he also did the score for Dragonheart. And he's married to Jackie DeShannon, which Sanchez probably knows. Jackie DeShannon had like 3 or 4 major hits in the late 60s, early 70s.
Anyway. The name, I couldn't tell you what the songs were, but I remember the name.
Yeah.
Even I'm not that old.
I think Get a Little Love in Your Heart or something.
I was 10.
All right, fine, whatever. All right, then it's Client 36, Bodily Functions and Bodily Dysfunctions.
This was a great episode.
You got my attention.
Oh, that's because I had in parentheses, warning, grossness. Because I think we went into fluids. We went into a lot of fluids on that episode.
Yeah, I was participating even though anybody couldn't hear me. I was throwing my 2 cents in just, for whatever.
And then our final client for season 2 was Road Rage and Bike Path Bitterness with firefighters Jeremy and Chris from the Washdown podcast. They're kind of interesting guys to talk to because, they're like real people.
Yeah.
They're like first responders, and we're like, we're useless people. We're not like you. How do we talk to real people who do meaningful things?
Meaningful stuff.
That's right. I don't know, but I occasionally check their podcast to see how they're doing on YouTube, and they're starting to gather some steam. So I was kind of glad to see that. And then we had our first annual Step Up to the Bar Association Legal Conference and Award Banquet in June. That was our anniversary of when we started the show, and so we brought everyone on. We'll be doing another Quibble Award too, and since you guys are on this episode, guess what? You'll be getting Quibbles, which will probably be something like best replacement hosts or something.
Yeah.
Something along.
I don't know.
lines.
I thought my Hooter Jones was pretty good.
Yeah.
It's framed,
Hooter Jones.
I have a TFT in my office actually. They're like, "What is Bunny's Twist?" or whatever the hell it was, and I'm like, "They're like, okay, they're just really it's a good age test because if somebody does not know Pulp Fiction." I'm like, "Yeah, I ain't talking."
You have that framed on your wall?
I do.
Yeah, we have ours framed also. Yeah.
That is awesome. I have nothing framed. I'm like, oh, and you even said TFT, so thank you for that too. Our total like FU to NFTs. That's what that's all about.
Yeah, totally fun.
I love it for that fact. Ooh, I know
NFT.
NFT.
All right, then we start our newest season 3. We started with Growing Up Bald with commercial producer Luke McCullough, which is a guy that Greg grew up with, and so he knew all of Greg's secrets. So that was actually, he was kind of a cool guy to talk to. Then we had Client 2 for season 3, When Cliches Were New, with Icelandic actor Einar Haraldsson.
That was a pretty good one.
He was great.
I like that guy.
Yeah,
And I learned
it sounded like
that
he was really easy to talk to.
he was, I guess, because he's like a former Icelandic cop as opposed to an American cop.
Right.
Yeah.
Different.
We had him on our show, and he unfortunately didn't really get the time, and he was gracious enough to stay up till 2:00 in the morning talking.
Wow.
Iceland time.
And he talked about the what was it when he had to guard Sandra Bullock, and he just does this very dry sense of humor. And I said, "How was it, guarding Sandra Bullock?" Well, it was great, fun to look at her.
Yeah.
No, I'm like, man.
Yeah, he didn't have quite a huge emotional range.
No,
but gregarious in general. Affable. Affable, I think, would be the appropriate
affable,
word.
Yeah.
And also, I learned that it's easy to do incest in Iceland. That's one thing I learned from that episode too, because nobody knows who they're related to, because the names,
probably related.
The last names change like with every frickin' generation.
Kind of like living in North Dakota. Don't throw a rock; you hit somebody you're related to.
Well, at least there you can tell the last names are different, but everybody there is somebody's daughter or somebody's son.
Well, the problem is you got to be careful of the last names, because they got Messmers and Messers. And what happened was two cousins or brothers got mad, back in the day, and says, "I don't like my brother no more. I'm going to change the spelling of my last name."
Oh, you're talking about North Dakota?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
You have been drinking. All right, moving along. Client 3 for season 3, A Plague of Ideas with author and writing consultant John Vorhaus. He was an interesting guy. I got a guy. You got a guy. You need a guy? I get you a guy. Okay. So, we're moving on to the next page of names. So we have Client 4. Henry Ford is no Thomas Edison, and Elon Musk is a punk, with comedian Jason Pollock. Actually like that guy too. He was really easy to talk to. He's got his own podcast. Then we have Client 5, Garbage Eaters Anonymous, with Texan actor and director Shana Toft. And Shana Toft is currently not starring, but she's in that new show with Sam Elliott, 1883, I think it's called. Yeah, so I think she's got.
Oh, really?
I think she's an extra, but she's been in like the first 3 episodes so far. So she's that, and so that's Shana. And that's the episode where we got to learn about Greg's interesting dietary choices from dumpsters. All right, next we have Client 6.
There's a whole culture around that.
Yeah, Greg was part of it.
Yeah.
Client 6, Accepting You Are Part of the Problem, Not the Solution, with CEO of Terminus Media, Mark Stansel. This is the guy who's over like Christian-based comic books. Yeah. But they're actually kind of cool comic books. We looked at them. Then we have Client 7, Fruit Equals Betrayal, with Tarp King and filmmaker Michael Stein, whose podcast is doing so much better than ours, that son of a bitch.
Yeah, and a Tarp King.
That's right. Yeah, well, I mean, he was actually in the movie business.
Well, I'm just mad that I didn't get in on the fucking tarp business.
Right. You probably could, probably not too late to start, Sanchez. You can do it now. All right, then Client 8, The Sweet Smell of Secession, with aspiring actor and model Joshua Christian Azali. That's when we were apparently really hurting for guests, because this is a guy who's accomplished nothing with his life other than he wants to be something. Yeah. So that's how he became.
Was he the one who was in a movie about a motel or at a motel? Or
no, that's later. That's Mark Morales with the Clown Motel.
He basically is like a stage actor. He was on our show too, and he was like the biggest fan of Street Fighter. So it's like, I love the movie Street Fighter. I love that the one in the early 90s with Raul Julia's last role. It's like, I love this. I'm like, okay, great. We'll review that. You come on, and he was fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. He was really
Street
fun.
Fighter.
It's like, I don't really have much, but it's like, I'll promote your show and I'll promote myself. And just
like, so Mark Morales just came on to talk about Street Fighter. That's funny.
Yeah, no, he just really talked about Street Fighter.
Or are you talking about Josh Azali? Who are we talking about?
Azali.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, okay. He's like, I'm mostly known for my hair. I'm like, I'm not.
Your lack of hair. Okay, client 9. Hitler was a baby once, with entertainment lawyer Adam Hirschfield. So he was another real attorney that we got on. He was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, he was. He was.
He had his own. He had his
interview.
own jokes.
I liked his dynamic with you guys. Is that like, okay, these are the fake attorneys, and he's like, screw it, I'll just roll with it.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously the title got my attention.
And he's like an accomplished attorney too. Like he used to work. He was a corporate attorney for like NBC or something. And I'm like,
right?
Why the hell? I'm like, some of these people. I go, why are you talking to us? I don't know why you're on our show.
Well, it's really great when they decide they're going to play. You know?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Well, now we give people the option. You know, we'll do a half an hour. If you can stick around if you want to, or you can leave. Yeah. Which is what makes Greg is happy when they leave. So, like he just wants to babble with us the whole time. All right, then we have client 10, Hinges, Bottles, and Other Miracles with the incredible John Velasco, another great guest. This is the guy who discovered, he discovered Black Sabbath. He almost discovered Queen, almost signed him. And forget who else, but so many. ABBA was another one that this guy signed to. It's like, you're like a freaking legend and nobody knows who you are, man. This is crazy. So then client 11, Thought Crimes and Misdemeanors with self-help podcaster Wise Otero, who I just found out today just came down with COVID. So hey, well done, Wise, for sticking your nose probably too near to somebody else's nose.
Yeah.
So getting yourself a nice case of COVID. Wise his podcast is starting to do better too, so that's good to see. Then we have client 12, Tradition is Poison with those bastards Brendan, Greg, and Matt. Then we have client 13, Batman Wears a Diaper with just Matt and Greg. So that was I don't remember how we came up with that one, but I think we were thinking like, what happens with these superheroes when they got to use a toilet somewhere? Well, I'm like, well, they probably got to wear a diaper. You know, like if you really want to get the Joker, just take that thing off.
There's no zipper in the suit, you know.
Yeah.
It's true. You never see zippers in.
Oh no, that's a thing. If you talk to these actors that do the roles, that's their thing. Is there's no zipper in the suit. There's no way out.
But you just said it. It just hit me. There's not a zipper in the suit. You can think about that. Like Superman has to do something.
Yeah, well, Batman, I mean, he's got like layers on. Spider-Man, there ain't no place to hide in that thing.
No.
You know?
Yeah, Batman has a utility belt, so he could probably like just canopper his way out of that.
Well, I just watched an interview from that new English kid who's doing Spider-Man. He insisted that they put a zip in the suit.
Wait, he's a new English kid?
He's an English kid.
He just came out of England like the other day. He's a new English kid.
He's the
old English kid.
Hi, everybody. I want to be friends.
I can't remember his name because I don't remember much. But I watched an interview with him on the Graham Norton show, and he said, no, I insisted they had a zip. He says, and they put it underneath, you know.
Yeah, CGI they just need to paint it green, and they can pee whenever they want. That's all they got to do. CGI that thing. They'll be fine. All right. Client 14 from season 3, Schmear the Queer with comedian and author Icavelli. Now, I wasn't sure if we could get away with doing that, but luckily this guy had a good sense of humor. He was also around our age, too. Yeah. So and you never know to look at him that he's like in his freaking 50s either. I was like, you son of a bitch. You look great.
I think that's the one I saw on YouTube, and I think, like, wow, he's in his 50s.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah. Well, what a great sense of humor. I mean, he was with it. He
totally was. Yeah. That's a guy I'd like to meet in person. Then we had client 15, Pets on Trial with rapper Twism White Peace.
You know, I think I missed that one.
Yeah. He was actually kind of an interesting guy to talk to. You know, he had an interesting backstory, and he's just trying to make it go. He's just trying to stay positive.
He recovered from a crime background or something, right?
Right.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he had like a near-death experience where one of his kids was almost shot.
Right.
And he's like, I got to take my family out of here, and they moved to Canada.
In Chicago, was that where he was?
I was like Indiana, I think.
Indiana. That's right. Yeah. And he moved him out. He moved him out of Indiana.
All right, and next we have possibly one of my most favorite guests as well. This is client 16, Evacuate Your Mind with fried food aficionado Billy Skeels. And this is the guy who Greg called a homeless man with a home. And he's like, why are you booking people like this on the show? I'm like, what? The fact is that Billy, in my opinion, was a great guy to have on the show. He got us the most views that we'd had on YouTube in a long time, honestly.
Yeah.
And not only that, he got us the most listens that we'd had in a long time on podcast platforms as well. So regardless of how Greg felt about him, he was good for at least get our name out there a little bit. But honestly, he was cracking me up through most of it because he was like out of his mind.
Not quite completely grounded. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Like there is something that involved a head injury somewhere. And but he was definitely the thing about our guests is that I generally wind up having questions about things that they say. And so I ask the questions that come up because I don't want to leave them hanging. I'm like, I want to get these questions answered. And he had so many questions that I had to ask. I'm like well, but hold on a second. Like, why was the roof missing from your house? What? I'm like, so you said the guy was turned on your fryer, but it wasn't a fryer? Like, what the hell is he turning on? Where did he, what? Anyway, so that was that episode for me. So I can't wait to have him on for the anniversary show. All right, then we have a friend in need, a friend indeed, and a friend in weed. That was a show basically discussing the fact that I have no friends. Except for 3. I have like 3 friends. So, all right, then we have Client 18, which is That's a Fine Looking Werewolf, with director and playwright Mark Morales. This is a guy who was doing a movie outside the Clown Motel.
Right, yeah.
I like that guy. Actually, he was totally on with us from like the beginning.
Right.
Because Brendan had our sponsor for that show, which was the Incelerator or something like that.
Yeah.
And this guy went, this helped me get rid of my girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's like, I give a kudos to the Incelerator for getting rid of my girlfriend. So he was good. And we've had some decent guests. The next one was Client 19, Here Today, Ghost Tomorrow. That was with the Mystic Ghost Paranormal Research Team. And that was like a team of people from Texas who all are into the supernatural and they like are ghost hunters. That's what they do. So it was like stuff that I've never had to deal with nor gave a shit about, actually.
Yeah, I passed on that one on purpose.
Did you?
Yeah.
You should have listened to that one.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Why pass on any of ours? We're gonna say something inappropriate.
I guess so,
you know?
Well, a guy can only hope, right?
Right. All right, then we have Client 20, The Times They Are Estranging. Greg came up with that one. With superheroes Holly Haggerty and Levana Bracci. This one we had our wives on.
That was an excellent episode.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
What made
they
that
brought
one
a whole
excellent?
new dimension, a whole new process to how we look at the whole podcasting thing.
Yeah. Really, I'm curious now. How did that change your perspective?
Well, because I'm not married myself, but I do the podcast with Shanny Pants over there at his house.
Yeah.
And it's not that nice over there.
It's not that nice.
Either somebody's upstairs making noise and banging, or there's a kid crying, or there's a dog barking, or
I get it. Yeah.
And he's like going, "Hey, you want to shut up there?"
Yeah, I was literally facing the corner of a wall at Brendan's house. And to my right was Holly's office. So her door was closed. And then my wife was behind me at a coffee table, and Brendan was upstairs. But the weird thing was that every time my wife was on and I talked, we would get this major echoing thing. So she kept having to mute herself so that the echo wouldn't happen when I was talking on that.
And the whole appearance was that you were all in separate spots, right?
Right.
Well, technically we were just different spots of Brendan's house.
In the house, yeah.
And then Greg was in Oregon asking us questions, but it was good. It was fun to do it. We'll probably never have our wives on again because I'm sure that they were like, "Why are we doing this?" It was mainly a way.
It seemed to me like they were having a bit of a good time.
Yeah, it was mainly a way for them to finally get what we did. Right. I mean, I've known Brendan's wife probably a little longer than I've known Brendan, and so yeah, she and I.
It is kind of interesting to see yourself like on the internet or like on YouTube or something. I mean, I'm not enthralled with it, but it's like, wow, it's a thing.
I mean, it reminded me of my own family when we do this, and my sister is acting president and chief of staff at a community college in Massachusetts. So she's got like a big high-end, big paying job, and you can imagine Thanksgiving is amazing. and we have the
at your house, right? That's where you hold it. You hold it at your place.
No, not in my house. Actually, at my pad was at my.
That's where I would think it would be amazing. Nowhere else, Nick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, they're doing this. They're like, oh, I had made funding for underprivileged girls to go into nursing. And I'm like, I created an amazing fart joke while talking about a John Candy movie.
You have no idea how amazing that fart joke was.
I mean, it came out of nowhere, really.
Like, you wish you should come up with that joke at your damn community college fundraiser.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. Client 21, The Tyranny of Beauty. And that was with just me, Greg, and Brendan. Then we have Client 22 of season 3, How Deep Is Your Punk Bunker? Or Apocalypse Wow with the amazing Cretia Turner. She was really cool, which I wasn't expecting, because I was thinking she's going to be some airhead pop star. Yeah. But in actuality, she's probably smarter than the three of us put together.
I'll have to revisit that one. I missed it.
Yeah. I like that episode a lot.
That was the one that Shanty was making inappropriate misogynist comments about, was her.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't necessarily sit down and listen to podcasts together.
I thought you did it. You did it hand in hand.
Yeah.
Hand in hand.
Strolling down the lane.
And you lit candles while you did it, and then sang Kumbaya when it was all over. So that's how I imagine you and your co-host.
Just keep imagining.
Our news team. All right, Client 23, Don't Be Late for Love and Hate. That was, I think that's when Greg finally got a girlfriend. I think that came from that particular episode. So, yeah, it's just a few episodes away. Then we have Client 24, Gift Horses Eat Too Much. I think we dealt with horse cliches on that episode.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one. That was.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, I thought there was a lot of good jokes in that one.
Starting with the three who were on the show. What's that?
I was amazed at how long it was. How you stuck on a horse.
Yeah, they went on for a while.
Yeah, like
well, that was like about a normal length, like an hour long, something like that.
I mean, if I had to try to come up with horse jokes or stay that specific on something, and granted, I did 6 episodes making fun of sharks, but
but there's 4 Sharknado movies, so I could see how I could do that.
I mean, I did that; it kind of wrote itself. But I mean, to do that for that long, I'm like, damn, man, those guys got it.
Well, that and the internet helps too. True. And our general inability to stay on topic, that also helps kill time, is our stream of consciousness. And not only that, I forgot Waspy Soda Pop has come about somewhere along these episodes. I forget how far back it goes. We're not doing Waspy today. He's vacationing, but
he's in hiding.
Yeah.
Whatever the last recipe we got was, I think it was hamsters. It was a hamster one.
Yeah, it was the hamster one. Yeah. You don't want to criticize his cooking. I'm telling you.
The Christmas hamster. Okay, then we have Client 25. Are you toxic or you just need a shower? That's with podcaster Mel Ortiz. She's the one with misheard lyrics.
Oh yeah, that was a great one. That was really a good one. Yeah, because there was Channy and I both were like going, well, come on, spirits in the night,
Yeah,
wrapped up like a douche.
Yeah, that's I think she deals with that in like the first couple of episodes of her podcast.
Does she?
Yeah, she goes after the basic ones in the beginning, and now hers are getting slightly more obscure. What I liked was how she's taken notes during the course of the podcast, the interview. She's like going, okay, and what other one do you have an issue with?
Oh, I'm sure she's always on the lookout for misheard.
Yeah, probably. But she was a lot of fun, and her podcast is kind of fun to listen to as well. And they're not long episodes; they range like between like 10 minutes to like a half an hour at the longest. So they're they're very easy to consume. All right, then we have Client 26, ableism, sexism, racism, and cannibalism. So that was a fun one to talk about, when they could all just be summed up with just keeping cannibalism to handle all the other ones.
Yeah.
I think that could have solved that problem. All right, then our final client, we've made it through season 3, not counting today, which is our fear and review, which is Client 27. I saw Mommy pegging Santa Claus. That's what,
I got to be honest with you. I had to look up what pegging was.
Yeah. Oh, and were you happy to find out once you looked it up?
Were you at least in incognito mode, dude?
Well, I got a VPN.
And that's with sex educators, Drs. Lauren Lichty and Dr. Chris Gowan.
Yeah.
Chris is actually a mutual friend of Greg and mine. We do like karaoke and stuff together.
Okay.
And Lauren is an educator out of Washington State, and spends her time between there and Chicago. So they have a podcast together. And Chris is like, when do I get to be on your show? And she was actually on the Quibble episode last year, just as a friend because she was listening to our show. But this time she actually got to be a guest.
It was a good show. There's no doubt about it. It was a great show.
Yeah, they were both real good sports. They totally, and Chris knows us far too well. I think that's the other issue. She knows me and Greg far too well.
Yeah, she prepared. She was prepared.
And plus she listens to the show like you guys, so she had some idea. Like she had listened to the friend episode, waiting for the moment when I finally admitted that she was my friend.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's just it. You and your friends. Your friends.
She told me afterwards. She's like, for a second there, I thought you weren't going to say my name. And she goes, I was going to be so pissed off at you. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you're one of the few. The three friends I have.
Your problem is you think with friendship comes responsibility, and you don't want to have nothing to do with that.
No, actually, that's not what I mean, I have so many problems, but
that's just not one of them.
That's not my problem regarding friends. It really kind of comes to what I talked about on that episode, which is I had a girlfriend once who gave me a hard time because I kept saying all these people were my friends, and she's like, they're not your friends. They're like acquaintances. They're not really
how long
friends
ago was
to
this?
you.
Oh, damn.
This was 30 years ago.
Okay, well, I'll buy into that. Friendly acquaintances.
Yeah, so I have lots of friendly acquaintances.
There you go.
You know, but for me, in reality, is like if I have any kind of connection with a person, I will consider them a friendly acquaintance. And if they're in trouble and it's within my means, and I'm willing, which is the key one.
There you go.
The willingness, I will help somebody almost every time. You know, if I'm willing. If I'm not willing, I'm like, sorry there. Even if I'm not able to help them somehow, I'll find somebody else to help them. You know, I'll get somebody else to do whatever the thing is. So anyway, that has been our fear and review recap. Now, the thing is, I did want to talk a little bit about fear because there's been a lot of fear over this last year.
Right.
Starting with January 6th of last year, when we had a guy who was in the White House who didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see him leave. I wanted to see people drag him from the White House.
Yes.
I didn't want him to leave voluntarily. I wanted to see sheriffs coming up to the house going, sir, you need to get out. This is no longer your home. Yeah. I wanted to see him evicted, because he was such a douche and deserved it the whole time.
Which I think is a great thing to say that you wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not just a great thing to say. It's something I wanted to see.
I know.
Sure, it may have caused a civil war. Sure, it may have caused people in certain parts of the country to raise up with their weapons. What the hell? They were doing that already anyway.
Yeah, right.
So let me ask you, Matt, how old were you when Vietnam stopped?
When it stopped, that was when Nixon was president, so that was like the early 70s.
I wasn't even alive, man.
Yeah.
So I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah. I just missed the draft.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I just missed the draft. I was 17 in 1974. So shit like that gets ugly. I mean, and you don't really want to have to push it to the absolute limit.
Yeah, but no president ever before was refusing to
Nothing
admit
has
they
ever
lost.
before happened like has happened this last
right. So it's like that didn't happen. Nobody stormed the Capitol.
The country has not collectively lost its fucking mind like it has in the last 5 years.
Yeah, the problem is that we had the pandemic, and that's what showed Trump's true colors, is that how he really wasn't a good leader. Before the pandemic hit, we knew he was basically a douchebag and he couldn't be trusted and blah, blah, blah. But when the pandemic hit, it basically showed what a shitty leader he was.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
but see, the thing is, people knew he was a shitty leader before he ever got in there. The problem is
not everybody knew that.
Yeah, not everybody, but also he was running against Hillary Clinton, and that was still
everybody hates. I'm the biggest liberal in the world, and I hate Hillary.
Me too. No, I am too, man. I hated Hillary too. I'm like, okay.
Our problem is we've lost living memory to the past. We've lost actual physical brain cells attached to the past.
Yeah.
And therefore, nobody can visualize it in their own head. The younger
even though we've got the internet,
they can't believe that all that shit was real.
No, what happened is
like,
that conspiracy theories
6 foot tall, blonde, and has blue eyes. Did you know that?
Conspiracy theories became collective consciousness, is what happened.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like so many people with nutty views got a platform where they normally couldn't reach people, and then they all kind of came out and found each
not
other.
only that, but if you hear something that you think, well, I got to look into that, right? This is interesting. And then you start digging on it, and you're going to find a lot of stuff. And if there's anything that matches even close to your, belief system or your chain of thought, the way you're going to attract to that, you're going to do, that cognitive dissonance thing, and you're just going to go, oh, boy, yeah, that's what happened. I know that's what happened.
I mean, you think about it, the guy who became president was a guy who had a game show where first prize was a job.
Right. And the guy who had lost just about every penny he was ever given.
Yeah.
Right.
What pisses me off the most about Trump, though, is that I had to vote for Biden. That's the thing that pissed me off the most.
I know.
Because I was a never Biden. I was like, I would never vote for Biden. I never wanted Biden to be in power in any way.
I still I'm not happy with him as our president.
I'm like, but the fact of the matter is, still, I'd vote for Biden again.
I'd
just
do
keep
it tomorrow.
Trump out of office.
I'd do it tonight if I had.
Yeah.
It's like, I will go round up my dead friends that I used for the last election, and I'll get them to vote again too. All those dead people I know that
JFK will come back and vote for Biden for us, or something,
even though he'll be running with Trump. All right, so that is basically our fear in review. Do you guys have anything you want to add? I mean, I want to thank Sanchez El Dorado very much for being on here as co-host. And Nick, you've basically been the other co-host for today too, even though we talked about your fitness business. I appreciate you guys both for coming on. Is there anything you want to talk? I should say there are going to be some changes in the coming year to our show. We're going to have less guests. At some point, we'll have no guests at all for maybe a couple of months. Our shows are going to start being live streamed every week whenever we record, but it'll also, the live stream will last until I do the editing, and then I'll delete the live stream from YouTube, but it'll be live streamed there. Not only that, on Spotify, you can now see the videos on Spotify, not just on YouTube.
No kidding.
It's a thing through Anchor, so you can now just add a video upload to Anchor, and they'll send it out to Spotify as a video file, but it'll be an audio file to all the other platforms. I'll also be running our shows live on TikTok too at the same time, which will be weird because it'll basically just be me, and you'll only get like me talking, and you won't get to hear anybody else. But I'm going to be doing it on TikTok every week too, just to mess with the people on TikTok.
It's going to stream as if you were playing a game, right?
It's going to stream like me having a phone next to me, because it's going to be like my phone doing live on TikTok. And but it'll be us recording it. So
you might be able to hook something up through OBS and get some other stuff.
Don't make my life more complicated.
Oh, come on.
I don't need to do OBS. I can do it through Zoom. Zoom goes right to YouTube, and I don't have to mess with the OBS stuff at all.
Okay.
I mean, come on. I may not be as old as you, Sanchez, but I'm old, and these things are hard for me to wrap my head around. My head around.
Your heads.
That head, and that head. These three heads, the hydra that is the law office. Is whenever Greg is like, tell me, put something on Patreon, do this other thing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, you first figure out how to log on to Patreon, and then I'll do the thing you ask. I'm like, you get Wi-Fi in your house, Greg, and then I might do some of the things you're asking me to do. Giving me more work, you goddamn bastard.
I'm Sanchez El Dorado. I'm half of the Happy Hour News team.
Yes.
You can reach us at happyhournewsteam.com. We release our episodes on Thursday morning.
You're hard to find on YouTube though because of the HR
we release
thing.
On Tuesday morning. Well, the thing is we only do half of our podcast on YouTube when we do video. And the thing is, my other half, Shanny Pants, he does all the work. So if he isn't in a position to like get the video ready and get the camera set up and everything, we just don't do it because I ain't gonna. I'm not that interested. I was never that interested in doing any video stuff myself. So when we started this, I said, that's fine. I'm happy to do a podcast with you, but I'm not interested in doing video.
Well, okay.
But we do it, and he does it. So
do you have anything new planned for the coming year, Sanchez, to your show?
Well, we talking about making some changes, but we're both kind of lazy.
Okay.
So we kind of tend to stick with the program we got, which is basically finding, bullshit stories on the internet, and we call it stories, news you didn't know you needed. And we talk about it, we make fun at it, and we, give each other a hard time.
Well, I think you've got a perfect niche there.
If I promise to watch the Sharknado movies, would you consider being on our show?
Yes.
You might want to listen to it first.
Yes.
Well, he would be on your show without even listening to Sharknado. The thing is, Nick, if you're going to be on their show, though, you got to drink because they're the happy hour news team.
It doesn't hurt.
It can be water. Because I don't think you're a drinker. You don't drink alcohol, do you, Nick?
No, not really.
That's fine. You don't have to. I mean, we did one a couple of weeks ago where I gave my co-host a hit of this homemade whiskey, and he proceeded to blow chunks right on YouTube.
Literally, I witnessed it. And on YouTube, I gave the timestamp. I said, "This is the time where Shanty pukes on camera."
Yeah, I say blow chunks. Is Chunks your dog?
Yeah, no, my brother.
Well, now we know what Shanty's true interests are. All right, Nick. So Nick is with Movie Theater Time Machine. Is there anything you would like to end with, Nick?
Movie Theater Time Machine. We're cruising on to our 5th year anniversary on the internet. We're still figuring out what to do. We have a number of guests actually lined up. We're similar to you guys, Matt, with Law Office of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. We're paring down guests quite a bit. I mean, we came into 2021 hot and heavy with a whole load of them, and then we got lazy and with everything else we're doing, so mostly it's been us. We just did an interview with actually an amazing interview with Carl Gottlieb, who's the guy who is
he'd be awesome to have.
He is amazing and amazing. Kaz and I interviewed him, and he's the guy who interviewed I'm sorry, the guy who wrote the screenplay for
Oh no, Sanchez has to pee. It's like he's Greg. He's the perfect replacement for Greg. There's the pee in the middle of the show.
Yeah. But Carl Gottlieb, the guy who co-wrote the screenplay for Jaws and The Jerk, and really gave all the great process.
I love that his microphone is still connected. We got to hear him in the bathroom go, Luckily, we're not hearing anything else, so maybe he turned it off because I think he might still have the headphones.
That was great, but Carl gave a really great thing on his writing process and gave great influence and told us about how to live a great life, and he did really well. As far as what we're doing for January, at the time we're recording this, we have no idea, so we're still trying to shoot from the hip on that one. But it'll be great all to get together. And beyond that, I have 2 other podcasts that we're actually going to be starting. One called The Martial Arts Life and another called Their Stories, where we're interviewing the World War II generation in our area.
Oh, find the ones that are still alive.
Yeah, finding ones, just chatting with them. We chatted with my grandmother, and she told stories about how she used to went to Newport, Rhode Island, where there's a naval base, and tried with their friends as a teenager and tried to bum cigarettes off the sailors. Never expected a 95-year-old woman to tell stories about that to her grandkids, but goddamn, it was hilarious. Cannot wait to release.
It was a bad one.
Yeah. Well, Sanchez, I have to say we appreciate you having left your microphone on when you went to the bathroom.
Well, that's the beauty of a wireless microphone.
It's the beauty of the internet because we have a record of you going to the bathroom.
Nice.
And the noise you make when you get in there, like, yes, we caught that as he's. I actually saw Nick roll off his chair when you did that. He was laughing so hard.
Well, what kind of noise do you make when you really got on YouTube
streaming? I don't make them around other people. So unfortunately, this show has gone on really long. We're at like nearly an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, really?
And I don't know that anybody's going to care. I'll probably have to do some heavy editing to this.
Yeah, you're going to be busy tomorrow.
Be chopping things up. No, it's going to be tonight.
Tonight, huh? Yeah.
You know how I work, Sanchez. I like to have this thing like ready to go by tomorrow morning.
Yep.
So that it's like I am the one who tries to be professional.
701
the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Well, it now airs later, not on YouTube, but on Spotify and on Anchor because of the video transcoding. So, do you catch it on YouTube, Sanchez, or do you do it on?
Yeah, I watch YouTube in the morning. Yeah, I get up Thursday morning. I get up early. I have my coffee. I go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times,
Yeah, so it runs later now on Spotify because they transcode the video. So I'm going to have to figure out how to work that timing. Oh, just as a quick note, Waspy Soda Pop will be returning for the new year. Not only that, we'll be keeping in the sponsors that we have. Maybe one day we'll get a real one. Doubt it. And I don't know if you guys have heard the last couple of episodes where we've added a new segment, which is Ask Greg.
Ask Greg. I like Ask Greg.
It.
We've been enjoying that one too. And so that'll be going. And as we phase out the guests, we'll be having probably some new ideas come to fruition that may or may not stick around. I don't know how much longer Waspy Soda Pop will be staying with us. Just depends upon,
I've actually been thinking about writing a book about Waspy Soda Pop.
Well, you already wrote like a page about Waspy Soda Pop.
Yeah, well, I've got a whole book in my head.
Sounds like you've at least connected with this person. So
he's a character. I mean,
I guess we have to keep him around since
he's got a spot in my psyche.
He's got his own following now.
I want to read it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I did read the entire tale of Waspy Soda Pop on the air whenever you sent it. So if you read a book, I don't know if I'll go that far.
Yeah, well, I don't expect you to read it aloud.
No, I'll do it
to yourself.
I'll do it
yourself.
telepathically to people. I'm like, all right, everybody, I'm reading it quietly because Sanchez said not to read it aloud. So make sure you get this.
Just like that, too.
That's right. All right. This has been the final edition of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker for the year 2021. This will be airing on the 30th of December, but today is the 29th for as long as it lasts. And I want to greatly thank Sanchez El Dorado from the Happy Hour News Team, Nick Tabor from Movie Theater Time Machine for helping me out when my 2 co-hosts were off doing other things. I believe they're trapping koalas in Australia today. So I hope they're having a good time. Anyway, goodbye, everybody.
Your consultation with the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they listen? Get out! Get out!